Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome back. I hope you all had a good weekend. This week we're going to start learning about different types of graphs and when we use them and how to use them. So I bet a lot of you remember when you were in Children's House and you would have those surveys and you'd go around and you'd ask people questions and you'd record or you'd write down their answer. So you might have asked people what their favorite color was or what their favorite fruit was, and then you would take that information or your data and you would turn it into a graph. Well, we're going to learn about 3 different types of graphs that we can use to show our data or our information. And we can use these graphs to answer questions about our data. So the first one we're going to learn about is a bar graph. And a bar graph is a chart that shows information using bars. You use a bar graph to compare and contrast information. So if we look at this is a bar graph, and this is probably the type of graph that we've all seen most often. There are different parts of a bar graph. There are these bars, and it's important to remember that these bars can go vertically, they can go up and down, or they can go horizontally, they can go side to side. So when you see a bar graph, you're going to notice that every single bar graph is going to have a title. That title tells you what the graph is about or what information was collected. This one's title is Favorite Type of Movie. Then you're going to have these labels, and there are labels on both sides, on the vertical axis and on the horizontal axis. And the vertical axis is called the y-axis, and the horizontal is called the x-axis. You're not going to really include that in your bar graph. It's just good information to know. So the labels, one label are the different types of movies, or it relates to your title. So since we're doing favorite type of movie, these were your options. So they have comedy, they have action, romance, drama, sci-fi. If you were doing favorite color, this is where you would have yellow, orange, purple, green, all of those colors. And then up on this side, on the y-axis, you have the numbers, and for this, they were asking people. So your label is people, all right? We would read this bar graph, we would say, how many people liked comedy? And we would go up, we'd follow comedy, we'd go over to the number, and it looks like 4 people liked comedy. So you can use a bar graph to compare and contrast. We could say how many people liked romance and how many people liked action, or how many more people liked action than drama. So this is a bar graph. The next type of graph that you might see is something called a line graph. And a line graph has points connected by lines to show how something changes. So you use a line graph to track changes over time. So in this line graph, we still have a title. All of our graphs are going to have a title. This title says push-ups. So it's tracking push-ups. And if we look at our labels down on the x-axis, we see the days of the week. So this line graph is tracking push-ups for a week. We have our numbers over here, which is really our number of push-ups. And then on our graph, we have points, and we have the line that connects the points. So if we were to look and see how many push-ups were done on Wednesday, we would find Wednesday, and we'd find the point that's above Wednesday and go over to the number. And it looks like 5 push-ups were done on Wednesday. So this is a line graph. It connects its points with lines. You would use the line graph to track changes over time. So you could use a line graph to track growth in a plant, or to track how much rain we get each month. And you would put your points for each day and then connect it with the line. Our last type of graph that we're going to learn about this week is our pie chart. And a pie chart looks different because it's a circular graph. It's a circle instead of how these graphs are kind of rectangles or squares. But this is a circular graph, and it uses what looks kind of like pie slices to show our data or show our information. And you use a pie chart to show relationships between the data. So let's look at this. The first thing I notice is it has a title, and the title is pets. All of our graphs or charts have a title. That's how we know what information we were collecting, what this graph is about. Over here it has something new. This is called a legend. So notice over here on the pie slices, there aren't words on here. They're not labeled with words. So we don't know what these numbers refer to. We would figure that out by looking at the legend. The legend has a color and it has a word. That word matches with a color, and color matches over here. So I'm looking, and this blue, this dark blue says dogs. I'm finding this dark blue right here, and the number is 40. That means that 40 people had dogs as pets. Now I'm interested to see how many people had birds. Birds is that green color, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to find green. And the number next to green is 10. So that tells me that 10 people had birds for pets. So this is a pie chart, and we can use this to compare and look at the relationships between the data. So we can say, which pet did people have more of? Did they have more dogs, or did they have more rabbits? And we can compare. All right. So today we learned about bar graphs. We learned about line graphs. And we learned about pie charts. We are going to do more work with that, with all of these, as the week goes on. So I will see you guys back for more graph work. Bye, everybody.